Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm Kristen and this is Under the Pink. If you're new here, I am a TikTok content creator and I've just made a few YouTube videos, so still getting into it, still getting used to it. And we are going to talk about some Taylor Swift stuff today. I'm diagnosed ADHD autistic and my special interest for the last couple years have been Taylor Swift, all of the lore that surrounds her and the other artists that are kind of in the TSCU and all of the symbolism and stuff that I think that they share that ties them together. So, what we're going to talk about today is Midnight's Mayhem with me, something I've been obsessing about off and on, as I think we all have since the Midnight's era, since this happened. But I kind of got back on it a couple days ago for whatever reason, and I had a million other videos to film. And of course, I decided to drop everything and film this one. So I made a spreadsheet chart situation because I am an obsessive person. So here we are. Let me move it over a little bit so you can see her in all her glory. I think there are a lot of things that I think we're really missing with Midnight's Mayhem that I really wanted to like hone in on. And so I thought we could look at this today and see what we can figure out. So, okay, so what this is, it's a lot more simple than it looks, is all of these little squares here are all numbers, and then each one just kind of has a little chart. So let me zoom in and show you. We'll just start with number 1. Okay, so we're all zoomed in on number 1. So track number 1 obviously is Lavender Haze, and what the numbers are at the top is Lavender Haze was pulled ninth. So that gives it the connection there. So it's track 1 pulled ninth. But then we have Mastermind. Mastermind is track 13, but it was pulled first. So each number is going to have 3 that are all tied in together, except for number 12, since Sweet Nothing was pulled 12 and it's number 12. So that's what those numbers are at the top, which I'm not going to go too deep into it, but I have been obsessing on my Twitter, and I think I've talked about it on my TikTok. I know I've talked about it in lives, that I think 9 equals Taylor Swift. Somehow Taylor Swift is 9. Taylor Swift herself and Taylor Swift, the record, is number 9. Evermore and Taylor Swift somehow are tied together. And I didn't realize until today when I made this. And so I was kind of shook that 1, 9, and 13, Taylor's number, are all tied together. I'll make another video, but trust me, that blew my mind. So we have Lavender Haze, we have Mastermind. Then obviously, record number 1 is Taylor Swift. So that's on there. And then what she looked like in Midnight's Mayhem with me, if there are any like defining features. So she had her curly hair swept to the side on Mastermind and her curly hair swept to the other side on Lavender Haze. And we also have the curtain gap. Now, if you remember, and here's the original that I was working with here, this is what I made it with. But we can go. Okay, so this is the spreadsheet that I had originally made in my Notion. I've had this for a long time. I've shared it a few times. But there's a picture in each one of these, so we can kind of refer to it if we need to. But as you see, this is a screenshot of Mastermind. So it's pulled to one side, and then we have Lavender Haze pulled to the other side. Interesting. And also worth noting that she has the Cats t-shirt on. If you follow me on TikTok, I've been obsessing about how Taylor's the cat. So I couldn't post videos about that as well, but Taylor Cats t-shirt, again, 1, 9, 13, all numbers that seem to represent Taylor. And something about it being on one side versus the other. Like I said, I don't want to get in too deep, but it's interesting. So those are what the pictures look like there. And what I wanted to point out too is this little fold right here in the curtain. That's what I'm talking about. So see, this one has a gap. See how it's open and you can see a tiny bit behind it versus here where it's completely closed, and then versus you can't see it there, but let's see. Here, where they're like folded into, you see how one side is like folded over the other side? I feel like this is important. I haven't really seen anybody talk about it, but I do think that's important. So we'll go over it in the spreadsheet, but you can see here it's folded 3 different times. It's gapped 5 times. And then, of course, we have the phones that are on each side. So that's what we're looking at here. So we have curly hair swept to one side for Mastermind, swept to the other side for the actual Lavender Haze. And then we have a curtain gap, not a curtain fold. So it is open, whatever that means. And this is just basically the ones that lead to it. So this is going to be the number 1, the number 9, and the number 13, because those are all the ones that lead to it. So I wanted to visually be able to see what records are connecting, so we can kind of like see at a glance if there's anything that really stands out. I discovered a lot of things through doing this. Also, we'll go over it here shortly, but there is a little thing over here about the actual dates. Something that, like I said, we'll talk about in a minute, but that I think is relevant is the numbers of days in between the dates. So we had 2 days, then 3 days, then 2 days, then 2 days, and then 3, 2, and 1. It's like a countdown, 3, 2, 1, and then 5 in a row. Okay. So I think that's probably relevant. So all the ones that were in a row are here with those numbers. And um, yeah, so we'll go over that later. But the 3, 2, 1 at the end, I think, is important. We've also obviously talked a lot about the way the numbers look, like the order that they were pulled in and whether they mean something. So we will be talking about that too. I made a TikTok um, almost 2 years ago, inspired by my friend T, who also made one that's like a pie chart kind of, and talked about like midnights being a clock. And then I wondered if like 1 year wasn't going all the way through the clock, and then the next year was going backwards. So we're going to look at that too. So that's what we're doing. Let's take a closer look. 2 and 8 are the ones with the most, the longest columns, the most to be looking at, which again, if we're looking at the coffee cup, 2, 8, those are the numbers that are on the coffee cup. 28, that's a number that is very relevant in some other fandoms, like Louis Tomlinson, his entire brand is called 28. So I think this is really interesting. And obviously, um, 2 and 8 is maroon and vigilante shit. So good songs for there to be like a lot here for if we're thinking that she's leading up to something for like karma, which is what I think. Okay. So, and I guess I should start out by saying that I think Taylor is doing some sort of performance art. She's building up to something. There is a message in everything that she's doing. All of these type of things we haven't decoded yet, and I've only started to decode the numbers and stuff in the Eras Tour spreadsheet. I have some videos about that too, and I'll be putting everything over here on YouTube, so that you guys can check that out. I'll put them in playlists and I will try to link them below. But just so you know what you're getting into, I am a performance artler, and I do think that she's building up to something vigilante shit type that will make a big difference in the music industry. Okay, so track 2. Obviously, the record is Fearless. The track is Maroon. And Maroon is connected to vigilante shit and karma. Maroon. And so we have a singular braid on one side. We've got her legs crossed. We've got some stripes, neutral colors, and bangs also swept to the side. So that's what we've got going on in Maroon. And then we have the curtain gap. I'm going to talk more about the dates and stuff, but I do think that having them all, since it's 1 through 13, they're all going to start with B. It's going to be B1, B2, whatever, which I wonder if that's what the twos are, because B is 2. It's the second letter of the alphabet. So that is what we've got there. I'm always thinking about what the 2s are. um, so that's what we've got going on with number 2. And you can see here that we have the color for Midnights here, and then we have the color for Folklore, and then the color for Fearless, or I guess not Folklore, and that's the numbers. Then moving on to number 3, which also has quite a lot. So we have 3, 6, and 7. And so I'm just really interested to see, like, think about all the different possibilities, right? It could just be numbers. It could represent something else. It could be dates. When we think about 6-3 was the glitch, 3-6 was the anniversary for Calvin or Carly, whoever. So that's important. So there's that, like maybe it's a date. Who knows? Maybe it's speak now in relation to, because I've been talking forever about her not being done with speak now, that she still has things to speak about. That's been something I've been obsessed about for a couple of years now. And so she obviously has something more she wants to say. She obviously has some secrets, like she's talked about it forever. And she made that even more clear during TTPD. And so she's still got to speak now, whether that's about the performance art, her relationships, things she's experienced in the industry, who knows? But something. So could it be that she wants to tell us the story of what happened during Reputation and Lover? I think that's really an interesting thing to think about. So, obviously, Speak Now is the record, the only record she ever wrote by herself. Antihero is the song, track number 3. And then Question is the order. So, or 7 is the order. And 7 is a number that she's also used a lot. She used it like on the Father's Day show on the 1st in June on the first year. She used it like 25 times in one show. I made a video about it. But she uses 7 a lot. So and 7 is also like her life path in numerology. So I think maybe that's it. Anyway, on Question, she had completely straight hair. It's the only one she had straight hair. And then on Antihero is when she had the most curly hair of all of them. Then we have a curtain gap, a curtain fold, and the phone upside down. The phone was upside down on track 3. So let's look on Antihero. That's when it was upside down. It was upside down on 8 and 3, but those are also obviously, those are just the track numbers. So it technically was also upside down for 7 if you were looking at the orders they were pulled. It depends on which one is important. Maybe they both are. I've also thought maybe one was important like on the first cycle and one was important on the other way around. Okay. So, Question, straight hair. It's the only one with straight hair. She looks so pretty here. Okay. So, we're on track number 3, Speak Now, right? Tell me that doesn't look like a Juliet type top. So I feel like we're on the right track looking at this, because that's very much giving Speak Now, the original Speak Now era. Okay, so straight hair, we've got a curtain fold, Speak Now looking top. Then we have and that was track 7, pulled 3rd, and the song was Question. I'm just always thinking about the implications. Okay. And then track 3, Antihero, was pulled 6th. So we'll see that one again when we get to column number 6. But looking at Antihero, see, it's curly, and that's the curliest it gets the whole time. And then that's the one, Antihero has the phone upside down, and then it has the curtain gap where it's opened. Would love to hear your theories about that. Like maybe it's related to the performance art. Um, like how much, like if it's gapped, is she letting us peek into her live? And then the other one, it's closed tight. I mean, maybe I'm overthinking it. I'm sure some people would say that I am, but people have been saying that for a long time, and I've been right about a lot of stuff. So I'm just gonna keep rocking. Okay, so that's what we've got with number 3. Number 4, surprisingly, is short. Another I know this is annoying if you're a new viewer of mine, but I've just been talking about certain things for since the beginning of my channel, like 2 years ago, and very, very early on, very early in 2023, I, got the strong sense that red like, everything leads back to red, right? Red was the longest vault tracks, the best vault tracks. We got music videos. We got a short film. All Too Well is obviously key to this whole thing. And whatever happened during Speak Now era, maybe something she needs to speak now about is what she sang about in Red. Like that's All Too Well. If it didn't happen much earlier, it happened during Speak Now era. So it always goes back to Red. Everything goes back to Red always. The day TTVD came out, I said, "Oh my god, this is giving Red and Speak Now." It's got so many callbacks, it's got so many vibes, and I also think Red and Evermore are very, very tied together. And if you think about it, if you are an Evermore girly, you're probably a Red girly too. And I mean girly in a gender neutral way, always. So, track number 4, Snow on the Beach, and we've got 6 and 13. So, track number 4 was pulled 6th, so that's our Midnight Rain. Obviously, the record is Red. She has her hair pinned up for Midnight Rain and a curly ponytail for Snow on the Beach. And then that is all we've got. A very short list as far as like connections go and things that were in the videos. So let's look here. We've got Snow on the Beach, which was pulled 13th. So we'll see that in a minute, but that's number 4. And then Midnight Rain, track number 6, was pulled 4th. It gets confusing, but that's why I made the little lines so you could see them all connect. Okay, she looks so pretty in this one. We've got very fall colors. In my original like time video that I made about, the pie chart I was talking about earlier, I Snow on the Beach is obviously last, if you look in the order that she called them out on. And my friend Melly had suggested that Snow on the Beach was like fallout from a bomb. And I think that Snow on the Beach is related to Holiday House, but it's very much like the aftermath of whatever happens. And um all of the other artists that are working together with Taylor in this are connected to that. And yeah, Snow on the Beach is weird but beautiful. It's an ending. It's a conclusion. I don't know. So maybe the conclusion's gonna be these are just my vibes. So maybe the conclusion's gonna be in the fall because of these colors. But curly hair in a ponytail, her bangs are down, not pulled to the side, and she's looking stunning here. If anybody wants to or has already done research into like her jewelry and stuff, that would be cool. Okay, so we have that one and then Midnight Rain, and that is her hair is like completely pinned up in this one. There's another one in which her hair is like messy curls, kind of like they're falling down. That's not the vibe we get here. Here it's very pinned. Then we have the white and brown, and she's got tips on her nails here. Gold, looks like gold French tips, which is interesting. Not something she usually does. So that's the situation here. And that was the curtain gapped on that one. And there was no curtain, nothing happening with the curtain at all on Snow on the Beach. See, it's just normal. And that happens on Snow on the Beach, Labyrinth, Karma, Lavender Haze. Those are the only 4 that don't have anything going on with the curtain at all. So I would really love to hear what your thoughts are on what it all means too. Okay. You can see, we've got the 13, 6 for rep or whatever, and then 4, yeah, number 6, number 4, and number 13. So that's the connections. They're all colored after records except 12 and 13. I just had to make those up. And then we have number 5. So track number 5. So we've got 5, 2, and 10. 2 being maroon. And we've got You're on Your Own Kid, 1989, a braid swept to the side for maroon. We looked at that earlier. And then curly hair with one side of it behind her back. We have a curtain gap and a phone on the opposite side, and that is on track 5. So track 5 and 9 is when the phone is on the opposite side, the actual track numbers. So, see, there's a lot. That's why I made a chart. Okay. So, maroon, let's look at it one more time. That's this one, if you recall. Also, on this one, she specifically mentioned number 5. I don't know if that's relevant. It was track number 2, but she mentioned that this was the 5th day, and it's the only time that she mentions that. So, worth noting that she definitely connected 5 and 2 for us, which, maybe that means that that song is rooted in that era. Who knows? It did come directly after Red, Maroon, Scarlet, Scarlet Letters, New Romantics. Okay. And then You're on Your Own Kid, track 5, pulled 10th. So see, we've got curly hair on the earlier ones that we talked about. It was pulled all the way over the shoulder. This one really isn't. It's just kind of like pulled behind her shoulder like that. Again, maybe it doesn't matter, but there were not two that were exactly alike. So I feel like they probably do matter. And it's not something that I've seen discussed really, other than like braids. There's not two hairstyles where she has them exactly the same, like over shoulder or whatever. And she keeps them that way very deliberately through the whole video. So like I do feel like that's relevant. And then all of this is like shades of green. Um, and again, that's You're on Your Own Kid, 5 and 10. The shades of green definitely make me feel like St. Patrick's Day. We're already looking at a 321 release maybe, and she's been using Lucky so much. I was looking at St. Patrick's Day itself because she's used Lucky so much. So I'm interested to see if all of those theories are correct. But that's what we've got for those two. Oh, and again, no curtain at all or phone or anything for or I'm sorry, no curtain at all for You're on Your Own Kid, but we did have the phone on the opposite side. So we had the phone upside down for 8 and 3, the opposite side for 9 and 5. What was the other one we looked at? Oh, and then maroon, where we have nothing for the phone, but we have the curtain gap. Okay, moving right along. And I promise we are going to get some answers with this. And if anybody wants this, I'll have it linked in the description I'll put it on my Google Drive and I'll link it in a PDF and this is a PDF and then I also have it in like a PNG. So if anybody wants to mess with it, you can. Okay, so number 6, connected to 3 and 4. So, my mind always goes immediately. So 3 and 4, again, Speak Now and Red, whatever happened in Speak Now is what she's saying about in Red. Everything goes back to Red. Is that why we ended up eventually getting Reputation? Okay, so we've got Reputation, and then we have Midnight Rain, track number 6, Antihero, track number 3. It's also worth noting, with these two being linked, Midnight Rain and Antihero, the glitch was on 6-3. So those numbers are numbers that I like. There are quite a few numbers I track at this point. 28 obviously for the coffee cup and for Louis. But then I also track, obviously everybody tracks 38 and 83, 112, I track 221, 69 or 96, and 63. So 6-3 is something that I track as much as I do 112 or 8-3 because of the glitch and because of the anniversary, and that date is really significant. So anyway, so we've got Reputation, Midnight Rain, Antihero, Pinned Up Hair. We already talked about that. And then the most curly hair. We looked at those earlier. And we have Curtain Gap and the phone upside down for Antihero. So those are kind of rehashes of what we've already had. So then we get over here to number 7. So 7 connected to 3 and 9. And obviously lover. Question is track 7. And then we have Bejeweled, track 9. For Bejeweled, we have curly ponytail over one shoulder. We've already looked at the straight hair for Question. We have a curtain gap, a curtain fold, and the phone on the opposite side once again for Antihero. So let's look at that really quick. Question once again, straight hair, if you remember. And then that was pulled third. So that is going to be connected to Antihero. That's where she has the most curly hair here. And then Bejeweled, since that was track number 9. See, curly ponytail, but pulled over one shoulder. See how it's like kind of deliberate and she keeps it that way. We also have Argyle here. And it was fall when she filmed these, but we've got a lot of fall colors, which is interesting. And she also has those little heart with the arrow earrings. So yeah, that's what we've got. And then for Bejeweled, we have curtain gap and the phone on the left. And then for Question, we have the curtain fold. Okay, folklore C, folklore or 8 has a lot too. So 8 is 2 and 11. So we've got folklore, vigilante shit, and karma. See this with all those 3 being connected feels important, especially with the 8 and the infinity of it all. So the 2 numbers so vigilante shit and karma are connected, and the 2 numbers that are directly connected with those are maroon and 8, which is the infinity, which is August, which is like a karmic number. It's never ending, rebirth, all of that stuff. So this is again on vigilante shit is when she said, I'll be leaving it up to fate to decide the next track. That's the one that Meredith is in the video. This is the one in which she is wearing the shirt from Antihero. When she pulls Karma, she is wearing the Antihero shirt. She has 2 braids in there for vigilante shit. She has the messy curls pinned up for Karma. Remember I said she had her curls like pinned up and they look like they were like falling down. That is what we have for Karma. And then we have a curtain fold and a phone upside down. So let's look at that. We are looking at vigilante shit and Karma. Okay. So vigilante shit again. This is the one that says fate. We've got a curtain fold and the phone upside down. This is when she's wearing this outfit. More gold nails, 2 braids, daisies, Meredith. Okay. And interesting that vigilante shit is track number 8 if we're looking at it in terms of like records, because she has the 2 braids, kind of folklore vibes, kind of Evermore. And then we have the Karma one. Karma has nothing, no phones, no curtains, none of that, no bullshit. And so see, she's wearing the same shirt that she wore in the Karma music video, but see her hair looks like it was curly, but like very messy. Like it was just like pinned up, like it's kind of escaping. Interesting. And this is also, I noticed today, filmed. I need to rewatch the video and make sure it's not just my screen cap, but I don't think so. Where it's filmed kind of pulled out, so you can really see the box that is this right here. So this box, this speaker, that's not that obvious in most of the other ones. I need to check, but 90% of the other ones aren't. And that's the speaker, that's the amplifier that her voice is coming out with the microphone. And the only reason that I noticed that and thought it might be important is because there's an amplifier next to her bed in the Lover music video. So that might be important. And in that one, again, no curtains or anything. Also, if we're looking at Karma being connected to vigilante shit, being connected to folklore. This does have, her pants do have mushrooms on them, cottagecore, daisies. Cottagecore was very folklore. It was during the cottagecore kind of era. So that's interesting. They also, side note, always remind me of the designs that were shaved into Kanye's head at the VMAs when all that happened. They don't match exactly, but they do give that vibe to me. That's just what they always make me think of. So there is that. So then we go to number 9. And it's funny because, earlier I was talking about 9 being connected to 13 and Taylor Swift. And then I had talked about how important 7 was. And look, here we are, 9 and 1, Taylor Swift again with 9. I'm telling you, they're connected. And then we have 7, which was the other number that she's been using so much. So Evermore, Bejeweled is number 9. 1 is Lavender Haze. And we've looked at them already, but curly ponytail over one shoulder, curly hair swept to the other side. So again, we have them switching sides, a curtain gap, and the phone on the opposite side. So we'll look at those again really quick. Bejeweled and Lavender Haze. Okay. So Bejeweled, that one we have a curtain gap. We have the phone on the other side. That's this one. And then that one is connected to Lavender Haze, where we have the curly hair all to one side. Um, they are pulled to the same side though. So that's worth noting. If I could get this. So pulled over. And they are um pulled over to the same side. Now this one again, you can see that amplifier again, the voice box really well. Let me see. See, on this one you can't see it. On this one you can't see it. On this one you can't see it. Most of them you can't really see it. You can see it a little bit on Labyrinth. You can see it a little bit on your own kid. You can see it a lot on Karma. You can see it a lot on Lavender Haze. You can't see it any of the others. Yeah, so interestingly enough, you can only see the amplifier, the speaker, on Karma and Lavender Haze. So 8 and 11, and then 9 and 1. Okay. Then we have 10, which is obviously Midnights, and then track 10 is Labyrinth, and 5, You're on Your Own Kid. So we've got Labyrinth and You're on Your Own Kid connected. She has the braided buns and on Labyrinth, and curly hair on one side behind her back, You're on Your Own Kid, and the phone at the opposite side. So Labyrinth and You're on Your Own Kid. We've seen this one. This is You're on Your Own Kid, curly hair put behind her shoulder. And then Labyrinth we haven't looked at yet. And this one, you can't really see it as good in this video, but she has braided buns like here, not really space buns up here, but buns like she had in the folklore era. And you can see half of the speaker here. So it's the only one you can see part of it, other than the 2 that you can see the whole thing. Okay, and then Labyrinth has no gaps, no phones, and neither does Lavender. So none of those have any gaps or phones in them. Okay, almost done. Now we get to 11, obviously TTPD, 11 tied to 8 and 10. So we've got Karma and Labyrinth, the antihero shirt, the braided buns we just looked at, and those messy curls pinned up. So we've seen all of that. No curtains, no phones on any of those. And then Midnight is very interesting. 12 is very interesting because there's no record yet, obviously. Sweet Nothing is the 12th track. It's the 12th pulled. And So, not much to the only thing it connects to is itself. It doesn't have any other tracks to connect with. So, it's only got one line and it's only to itself, which is very fitting for midnight. So, she's just got wavy hair and a curtain fold. So, Sweet Nothing. It's her right here. So, we've got the plaid. This looks like windows kind of to me, which is also interesting. We have a curtain fold that you can see in the actual video. We also have some really subtle stripes in her pants. Okay, and then lastly, we have 13, but we don't know a record for 13. 13 track is Mastermind. Oh, that's why I needed to just put it up here because Mastermind was pulled first, even though it's track 13. So one is connected there too. So again, we have 13 and 1, which the 1 being Taylor Swift or the 1. Because I think Taylor Swift could have been the 1. And I think that is referencing her. But so we've got 13, we've got 1, which is also Taylor Swift, and then 4, which is red, but also 1 and 3 added together is 4. And in numerology, you always uh, go to the smallest number. So anyway, Mastermind, Snow on the Beach together, curly hair swept to the side, curly ponytail, and curtain gap. And this is the last one. So we've got Snow on the Beach, curly ponytail here, looking really pretty. And then Mastermind, curly hair pulled to one side, very mastermindy type jacket, business vibes. Yeah, we need to look more at, I need to know like what is going on with her fingernails. It's surprising to me that she changed them so many times in this short period of time. And then if we don't need to have every piece of jewelry, but if there was something significant, we need to note that in here too. But that's what we have for this. Now I want to, so we can kind of look and see like what I'm starting to have allergic reaction. I'm getting itchy really bad. Okay, so I want to look kind of at what these patterns could mean. So again, like 2 connected to 8 and 11. That could be a date, it could be the records. Also, so we're just looking at like, okay, so maroon is connected to vigilante shit and karma. Um, Also possibly the record Fearless. So maroon karma, vigilante shit, possibly Fearless, and then anti-hero and question put together. Also with the only straight hair being for question is very interesting. My face is probably getting redder because I have really bad allergies and I'm starting to break out in hives. I don't even know why. I haven't done anything at all. But I can tell. So if my face gets redder, don't worry about it. I'm fine. So 3 being connected to 6 and 7. Antihero and question possibly being tied to the record Speak Now, but also 3 being antihero, but also Midnight Rain since it's 6. So Antihero question and Midnight Rain. Then 4 connected to 6 and 13. If it all does go back to red, like I'm always saying, then does that mean 13th record is when we're going to get what happened during red resolved? Get the story of that. Is that what caused reputation? Are these dates? Do they mean nothing? Then we have 8 connected to 2 and 10. So Fearless and Midnights, or I'm 5 connected to 2 and 10. So that's could be Fearless and Midnights, which with everybody saying that 1989 was like a little sister of Midnights, or that Midnights was like a little sister, older sister to 1989. They were very connected, had a lot of similar sounds. That's really interesting that they're connected in that way. And then obviously the maroon of it all. And 10 is also labyrinth. So you're on your own, kid, maroon, and labyrinth. 6, 3, and 4.
see, again, we're getting that 6 and 3. They're together both times. So 6, 3, 6, 4, or 6, 3, and 4. And I already talked about what that could mean, but we've got Midnight Rain, Antihero, Snow on the Beach is number 4. So it does mean like the finale, Antihero, being part of it just makes sense. Oh. So we've got 7, 3, and 9. Question, Bejeweled, and Antihero is what those would be. And of course, Lover. Then we already talked about Vigilante shit, Karma, and Maroon. Also possibly connected to the folklore of it all and the infinity symbol, the braids. So then we have 9, 1, and 7. Bejeweled, Lavender Haze, and Question. Question is number 7. So Bejeweled, Lavender Haze, and Question plus Evermore. And then 10, 5, and 11. So we already talked about the 1989 connection. So Labyrinth, You're on Your Own Kid, and Karma. Like, I feel like it all makes sense, but maybe it's just because Midnight's is so could tie into itself over and over. Maybe that's all it is. Then we've got 11 with 8 and 10. So we've got Karma with Vigilante shit again and Labyrinth. So in every instance, it seems like Karma and Vigilante shit are tied together. But then with Labyrinth is very interesting, especially if we think about 11 being TTBD, if that's like the order of the story, and like now she's in the labyrinth, like who knows. Then 12 just all being Sweet Nothing. So that makes me think of like Midnight being that bomb that's like, how like after there's an explosion, there's like an eerie silence, and it just makes me think of like you can hear it in the silence. So the silence after the bomb, that's when like you're in love. Then we have um Snow on the Beach, the fallout from the bomb. I don't know. And so then 13 connected to 4 and 1 again. So Mastermind, Snow on the Beach, and Lavender Haze. So Mastermind and Snow on the Beach making perfect sense once again if we're talking about her big plan, and it being pulled first, but being track 13. And then we have Snow on the Beach, obviously, which is pulled last. And yeah, so that's that whole story. Okay. I also just want to think for 1 second about the concept of just the track number being tied to the record itself. So just like track number 1, Lavender Haze, just Lavender Haze being connected to Taylor Swift, the record. I think of the Lavender Haze as, and maybe you guys all do too, as just that in between, right? Like are a couple of shows that I kind of link Taylor to that I think she got inspiration from, and in one of them there's a purple haze that literally makes people forget. It's like amnesia kind of thing. So there's that. Lavender obviously has its own connotations, and then but lavender is also like in between blue and red. And I think she's been very, sorry, I'm itching my hives. I think she's been very strategic politically for a reason for these last few years. And so, that is also like that lavender haze where she's kind of in between, or maybe it's referring to before she was outspoken about politics when people didn't know what she stood for. Perhaps that's what it also refers to. I think it refers to, as everything else, a lot of things, but with that being tied in specifically to Taylor Swift, that's kind of been part of her story forever. That like haze of writing something that is autobiographical, but also through a filter. Okay, and then Fearless and Maroon being tied together. Very interesting when you think about how her life really changed during Fearless. That is when during that era, that is when she really blew up. That's when she got all her fame. People started to know who she was. She won a Grammy. She won all those awards. That's when the thing with Kanye happened. Like her whole life changed during the Fearless era. And so when we think of Maroon and the Scarlet Letter, that was when that thing happened with Kanye for the first time. And that was when she was singing about Joe Jonas. Like she made the choice to make songs about boys in the public during that era. That's also the era that she dated Taylor Lautner for PR. And so, yeah, I think Maroon and the Scarlet Letter, that makes a lot of sense for it to be tied to Fearless. Then track 3 is Antihero, and that being tied to Speak Now, also makes sense if, like we were talking about, like, her record is called Speak Now, but there are clearly things that she never spoke about. She's talked about having secrets, and I think everyone's entitled to secrets. I don't expect her to share her secrets, but she does seem to indicate in later, records, especially TTBD, that those secrets are kind of killing her and that there's a lot she's been wanting to say. Or when we look at the like giant, screaming Taylor, clearly, clearly she's struggling. There's things she hasn't been able to say. So, Antihero, being tied to Speak Now, especially with the Antihero visuals of her waving and screaming, is interesting. And then Snow on the Beach being related to Red, again, it being last, and Red being like, once we get the true story of what All Too Well is actually about, everything goes back to Red. So once we figure out what actually happened to lead to Red and the devastating songs on Red, then we will know a lot more of her story. Everything changed in Red. That's when she changed her hair to straight. Like everything changed. And that's also when she turned into she dressed like a 1950s housewife, all of that stuff. I just lost a light. You know what? If you guys don't care, I was gonna plug it in, but if you don't care, I'm just gonna go without it. I am already itchy anyway, so okay. And then 5, You're on Your Own Kid, being tied to 1989, and that's exactly when Snakegate happened and all of that. Like she truly felt like she was on her own. And that's also when, she moved to New York on her own. So that fits too. I feel like these actually fit really well. And, she said midnights throughout her life. So maybe she actually, maybe each one of these is from an era. Wouldn't that be interesting? Everybody thinks it's like about a certain thing, and they're really all songs about the era they are tied to. Anyway, then we have Midnight Rain and Reputation. Um, he was Sunshine, I was Midnight Rain. She was definitely like, I wanted that pain. She was definitely wanting that pain during Reputation. And if you think that that could possibly be about like the two sides of Taylor, she definitely had like a sunshine side, the love songs, and then, the Look What You Made Me Do, I Did Something Bad songs. So that could be the Midnight Rain and Sunshine. It could also be romantic interest, whatever. So that could work too. She was definitely, um, she said she played a character during Reputation. And so, being also, if like the fans as her muse, uh, they wanted to be comfortable. They wanted that sunshiny Taylor they'd always had, they had during 1989, but she wanted the pain, she wanted the darkness. That could work too. So then obviously Lover and Question, that's the one I think is really an interesting match. When you think about every single one of your friends is making fun of you in the Lover era, like when it started, and everybody was making fun of her for Me and You Need to Calm Down both, but they also both got the most streams on YouTube, so everybody was clapping. I don't know. That could work. I'm not saying that's like the whole motivation behind the song, but it's a way to tie it together. So then 8, Vigilante Shit and Folklore. I love this combination because in my very first video series way back, I talked about that I thought Taylor and other artists got together during the pandemic and made this decision to work together to stagger their concerts. And by that one, I mean Beyonce, Harry, and Taylor, because that's exactly what happened. Is that they didn't overlap. Harry was finishing Love on Tour right after, and internationally when Taylor was starting here stateside, and then Beyonce started internationally, and they just didn't really compete with each other, but they all three together combined to make an insane impact, right? Like, and garnered all of them so much social currency, just really having the fans watch every move that they made. And so I thought that all the artists got together during the pandemic. And that was, I've talked about this on my podcast, but that was later confirmed in a way by Questlove, who talked about artists reassessing in the pandemic and deciding to put art first. So, anyway, that being vigilante shit is fascinating to me if that's when she made her plan, because for all of everything that we've been seeing, because I think she had a plan obviously during Reputation, and things didn't go according to that plan because of what happened with her masters and stuff. So reassessing during the pandemic, during folklore, to get her vigilante shit, to get her revenge and make some big changes with other artists, like that just fits so perfectly. And then 9, Bejeweled and Evermore. Those don't really make sense if you're just looking at them. Like Bejeweled, decked out, makeup, sparkles, and Evermore could not be further apart. But if you think of Bejeweled being somebody who has been honest and open and is finally getting to thrive, okay? Um, I think that if Taylor ever does like a Evermore Long Pond, when she talks about what those songs are actually about, that is going to be part of telling her truth. That's kind of part of the speak now. And because I think Evermore and Taylor Swift are so, Evermore is Taylor Swift. And I can make a whole video because I have a ton of reasons why. Evermore is Taylor Swift. And so when we think about debut being last, or we think about knowing the real Taylor Swift, right? Then Evermore being Taylor Swift just fits into that perfectly. I'm still bejeweled after I've told you my truth. I'm still bejeweled. I, I see the vision. Do you see the vision? I see the vision. Okay. So then we have Labyrinth and Midnights. Love this because think about it. After the pandemic, Midnights is when she like set the scene. The Midnights era, I swear we're still in the Midnights era. Until midnight, we're in the Midnights era. We always keep coming back. And that is the Labyrinth. Like she's done the re-records. We dipped our toes into these other eras. Even TTBD, we've leaned into these other eras, but we always go back to Midnights. And Midnights is the overarching thing, but Midnights itself as a record is hard to pin down. People think that they know, but then every time more information gets released, then it changes, right? So everybody thought like, "Oh my god, these songs are about this thing," and then her and Joe broke up, and then that changed the meaning of everything. And then we find out about Maddie, and that changed the meaning of things again. And I think the meanings will change again even more. I have had a long theory that I know the ship has sailed. Okay, I get that. But that Midnights and TTBD are part of karma. Possibly it's Evermore, Midnights, and TTB are the 3 parts of karma, but I think probably Midnights, TTBD, and whatever is next are the 3 parts of karma. And the reveal of whatever those Midnights tracks are actually about could answer a lot. Like it could bring about karma in its own way if because it seems like, because if these songs are about something completely different than anybody ever thought, like if they're about business or whatever, she could be bringing a lot of karma to, to whoever she's talking about, whoever, if we saw like the truth about something that happened in the industry or a blackmail situation, whatever it is, there could be a lot of truth that comes with that. So I used to think, since she said it was going to be a visual album, that we would get music videos for those other Midnight's tracks and it would explain everything. Now, that ship has probably sailed, but if we got, a short film or something, I don't know. I'm gonna stay in my Delulu land and think that we're still gonna get that. But Labyrinth and Midnight's being together, like the start of that labyrinth, makes perfect sense. She also talks about the hedge maze. A hedge maze in a labyrinth also makes perfect sense. Okay. Then we have track 11, Karma and TTBD. See, again, TTBD is part of Karma. I truly believe that. That's when she first started really talking about out loud about the industry and how she really felt. I think TTBD is the most honest she's ever been. And that's why it makes people so uncomfortable. Karma being connected to TTBD just makes sense to me. And then we also, like, we have Labyrinth thrown in there. We were just talking about Labyrinth being part of starting in Midnight's, continuing on to TTBD. That also works perfectly. And then, we've got vigilante shit in there too, so that works. Sweet Nothing being whatever 12 is. We already talked about that. If it's the calm after the bomb, if it's, record number 12, and we think that's when it strikes midnight, and it's really not. Really nothing happens except, one more record, and then the truth comes out on record number 13. Like, who knows? But then 13, of course, being Mastermind, which is the perfect way to wrap up this whole thing that we just talked about. It honestly, the whole thing works absolutely perfectly to put each track with the record. If you think about it, that's wild, the way that just turned out. So wrapping it all up with Mastermind 13. She started with Mastermind in the announcement. We're ending with Mastermind. That just kind of contributes to the does it go through one way and back through the other way theory that I was talking about earlier, because she masterminded it all. Like, she's a mastermind. She knew the whole time. She planned everything. So that works really perfectly too. If you guys have theories about the curtain, I would love to know. Let me know. Don't worry, we're going to wrap this up soon. I know this is really long. Okay, so we're going to go over here to the dates. Okay, so we have Mastermind, 2 days later, Vigilante shit. And then 3 days later, Question. 2 days later, Midnight Rain. 2 days later, Maroon. 3 days later, Antihero. And then 2 days later, Bejeweled. 1 day later, Karma. So 3, 2, 1. So Karma being on the one, on the 3, 2, 1, like that works too, right? We've got on the 3, 2, 1, Antihero, Bejeweled, Karma. Like that feels like that works, right? She's being the antihero, she's being bejeweled. That brings karma to everyone, someone, whoever, with the 3, 2, 1 countdown. I love that. And it's starting with Mastermind, of course. If we're just looking at the number patterns, we have 2, 3, 2, 2, and then 3, 2, 1. 2, 3, 2, 2. If you have theories about what that means, let me know. Could be 23, 23, 22, 3, 2, 1. Hmm. I mean, we were talking about March, right? So what if it's like March 23rd? It's like a countdown. March 23rd, 22nd, and then 3, 2, 1 is also March 21st. 3, 2, 1. I'm just saying. In October 10th, and then we on October 7th. So after the 3, 2, 1, we get 5 things. Lavender Haze, You're on Your Own Kid, Labyrinth, Sweet Nothing, Snow on the Beach. So that end works exactly like I was just talking about. Lavender Haze, and then You're on Your Own Kid. You're on Your Own Kid being right before the Labyrinth, and then the Sweet Nothing and the Snow on the Beach, all of that working together on the same day. So all of those going together on the same day, the Labyrinth, the bomb, perhaps the after bomb, the You're on Your Own Kid, and then the haze of it all. either the forgetting or the, you know, whatever the haze means. Maybe it's clearing away the haze. And that is why she's on her own. I don't know. But the lavender haze, but the lavender haze being 9-1. So again, Evermore Taylor Swift. You're on your own, kid. 10-5. So those two records that are tied together. Then Labyrinth being 10-11. Both parts of Labyrinth, like I was just talking about, TTBD and Midnights being together in the Labyrinth. Then Sweet Nothing being 12. The end of the Labyrinth is over. Then your Sweet Nothing. And then again, Snow on the Beach, 13-4. Ending with Taylor's number 13 and 4, Red. Ending on the truth. The truth of it all. I'm loving that October 7th. That just makes sense to me. Okay, I'm digging it. Especially when you think of karma happens right before all of those things together. Hmm. All of this is honestly making perfect sense. Let me know in the comments if you think so too, or what your thoughts are. If you think I'm crazy, be nice. Say it in a nice way. Or if you have ideas, I would love to hear those too. But I want to look at one last thing before we go, and that is this. This is the order that the tracks were pulled. Okay. We've already made a lot of sense out of what's going on. But I do want to look at this. Um, there were some theories previously. So my friend who is Her Midnights on Twitter originally came up with the idea that 13-8-7-6-2-3 is the dates that Travis went on stage with Taylor. So 13 is Taylor, 87 is Travis, 623 is the day he went on stage. So like that's insane. So then we were all looking at like 911, right? And then that was the day of the VMAs where she called him her boyfriend on stage. And then the next numbers after that would be 1, 5, 10, 12, and 4. So, we never know what those numbers could be. But I do think it's really interesting once again that we have 6, 2, and then 3 when 6-3 was the glitch. That's the anniversary. 6-2 is the day that she broke up with Calvin publicly right before Snakegate. So 6-2 and 6-3, like that, those 2 days. 6-2 is the day she and Calvin broke up. 6-2 is the day she and Calvin broke up. 6-3 was the glitch day. So those 2 days together do seem significant. I'm just saying. So I'm interested in what else those could represent. Or again, if we, go through it once and then we go through it backwards. What it could all mean. So yeah, that is my unhinged video for Midnight's Mayhem with me. There's obviously a few details that we need to add that, maybe just looking at the jewelry she was doing, I need to watch those videos again, see if there's any details that might fit in. But I'm very interested to see what you guys think about all these connections that I just made. And if these connections have been made before, please let me know. If and also, if you have an idea of what the curtains mean and how they fit into all of this, or with the particular songs, or with the particular records that seem to be tied to the songs, I'm very interested to know that. Um, I will say that the phones can represent many things, but she started the tour on 3/17, which breaks down to 3/8. And she ended the tour on 12/8, which also breaks down to 3/8. So that is what the phones could represent, the beginning and the end of the tour. And 9/5 is the phones that were on the other side. And 9/5 is when she started the European leg of the tour. That is when on 9/5 is when she started in with TTBD. So that was kind of part 2 of the Eras Tour. So we had, part 1, and then we had part 2 where she changed everything, changed the 1989 outfits, put TTBD in, all of that stuff, and that was on 9/5. So I do feel like that's really a significant part, um, and so, we need to keep that in mind, the 3883 and the 9/5, um, possibly with it being, like, on the other side was, like, cause like, the other side of the world, like, international, but it wasn't, like, South American stuff got the same show as we did. Anyway, so I have long thought that's what those mean, but again, with everything, with Taylor, there's a million meanings, so, they can definitely mean more than that. And yeah, so that's what I've got. Let me know what you think in the comments. Make sure and subscribe. I'm trying to build up over here. As you can see, I'm a yapper. TikTok was never long enough for me anyway. I needed to make a bunch of videos to get my thoughts across. And TikTok doesn't like me to upload a bunch of videos. So this really works better. So I would love to be making more content over here. So subscribe, comment, let me know what you think. Share this with your friends. My goal is to get to 1,000 subscribers by, let's make a goal, by March 1st. So I think I'm at like 750. So let's get to 1,000 subscribers by March 1st.
It must
And
be
thanks for hanging out with me. Okay, see you
counterfeit.
next time.
I
Bye.
think there's been a glitch.